when I was thinking about the tagline for this topic, I thought maybe this is a bit too, how to say it, a bit too bold, innovate or die. But then I reflected a bit on my experience working in big companies and working with big companies, and I thought, no, that's exactly what it is. Right now, you have like a very simple choice. You either innovate or you die. Maybe not tomorrow, maybe not in like even 5 years, but eventually you will. So a short intro about me. I'm Jean Mauris, I'm serial entrepreneur. So I built one LV at that time. I worked for Delphi, for Lattelecom Technology. Then I created my own company, digital agency, brought it from 0 to 1 million in revenues. Then I sold it, then I invested all the money, I lost all the money. So there are a lot of things, but the key point, I've been on different sides of the table. I worked for corporate, I built my own company, I invested some money, and then I was helping startups to actually build their product. So I think that background that I have can actually contribute to any established company in terms of how to innovate. But before we start, let me share a couple of things that I think are crucial at the moment to understand why this innovation stuff is so important. How many of you know this guy? Okay, the innovation guys, right? This is Mark Andreessen, also serial entrepreneur, investor behind he stands behind many companies. In 2011, he published an article called "Startups Are Eating the World." Software is eating the world, and it was like 6 years ago. And there was one quote saying, "Every company needs to become a software company." By that time, it was actually like the cornerstone of innovation. Like 6 years ago, all you need to take a technology, implement it, and you will kind of have an innovation because everything is digitizable at that moment. But if we are taking a look at what's going on right now, like 6 years ago, 6 years have passed, like we saw Uber, Airbnb, you name it, many companies, and it still remains the same. The software is still eating the world. Everything you can imagine right now will be digitalized. Just think about Uber that do not own any cars, doesn't own any cars. Airbnb doesn't own any real estate. And those things, those new revenue models powered by software, they will pop up. And basically what you have to decide for yourself, you either embrace that or you will die. And there is another guy, Klaus Schwab, he's founder and chairman of World Economic Forum. He stated that we are living right now in the new world order. And the old world order is when the big fish is the small fish. But the new one is totally different. It's where the fast fish is the slow fish. Everything changes. You being an established big company, having millions of revenues, you still can be eaten in a year by a fast fish. Because those fast fishes are so fast you can't even notice them, but they're growing somewhere behind you, and you just get lost in that stuff. So don't be this big and slow fish. Even if you're big, be the fast fish. And all of that leads to one question, actually. What innovation is? Again, if we take a look a decade ago, to innovate, you need to implement some kind of software. Okay, we'll take the tech, we'll use the tech to optimize this and that and that. But right now, everything changes. Right now, the innovation itself is a profitable implementation of the ideas. And again, profitable implementation. Having just ideas, that's not innovation. But having profitable implementation of ideas, that's the key of the innovation. And it works in all the domains. It's not about new products or new services only. It works in domains of delivery, so how you deliver your product. It works in domains of processes of your company, like the back-end stuff. It works in the domain of finances, like your revenue model, your partnerships, you name it. So there are many levels, many domains of how you can actually innovate. But it should be profitable. If it's not for profit, it's not innovation. It's like a sandbox, a playground. You just play. And there are many ways to innovate. And I saw companies tackling all of them at once, tackling one by one. But you can do accelerators, your own internal, external, you name it. Spin-offs, you can sponsor events or create your own events. You can do support services for startups, or even create your own startup programs, M&As for sure, or you can do investments. But every way how you innovate boils down to just a couple of things that should be there before you can do any of those. And those are two things. That's a mindset and culture. Because without right mindset, not like of right mindset of management, but right mindset of like majority of employees, without the innovation culture within the company, you can do whatever you want to do. Nothing will work for you. In terms at least in a short term, it might seem to work, and I'll show you a couple of examples of that, but in long term, it won't. You should change your mindset, your employees' mindset, and you should change culture within the organization. But what it is, actually, if we take a look at the mindset of like regular established company is like growth, right? But the growth is like, we are growing 5% a year. Oh, that's cool. That's kind of great stuff. Or we are growing 10% a year. That's not how innovation works. Actual innovation and actual mindset for innovation is 10x. 10x, not less. You can do more, but not less. If you're thinking about percentages of growth, then it's not the innovation. Then it's not something transformational for your company. So it's just a regular work. If you do 10% increase a year, that's cool. But if you want to actually disrupt an industry or build like a totally different company out of your existing company, you should start thinking 10x. But it's quite like easy, like, okay, 10x, let's think how we can, in the long term, build a plan that we can go to 10x. But the innovation culture is much more sophisticated than just thinking 10x. I imagine innovation culture as an iceberg that has a visible part above the water and under the water. And like being a big company, established organization, we are kind of magneted to this visible part. We are trying to change the culture, the innovation culture, with like strategy. We put a like bullet point in our strategy. We will be innovative company will do innovation, whatever. We kind of implement different procedures to actually do that stuff. We set goals for innovation. We kind of implement structures, policies, you name it. But then at the end of the day, you do not see any like tangible results, and you're kind of, okay, it doesn't work. Why? Because you're actually tackling this like part above the water, but you are not dealing with the part below the water that actually shapes the innovation culture. And that is like very personal things for every particular person in the company. Those are like traditions, ambitions, values, feelings, even beliefs of your employees, how they behave with each other, how they like even communicate with each other. Everything below the like water line is much more important for innovation culture. And innovation culture eats strategy for breakfast. Believe me, it's like if you have that thing shaped and you have a right mindset, you can choose any of those tools that I kind of showed before to actually tackle on innovations. And here's the example of Facebook. Do you know Facebook Little Red Book? How many of you? No? No one? Just like Google for it. It's a really cool book of how Facebook kind of, what's the Facebook culture? What are their beliefs? What are their feelings? How do they behave? And the one thing there said, if we don't create the thing that will kill Facebook, someone else will. And that's exactly the innovation culture, the kind of core of how we, as a like established company, can innovate. And like there is an example of Kodak, Blockbuster, Border Groups. All those companies went bankrupt because they thought that they are killing their own business with their inventions. But let me share a couple of case studies. Like when I was running like my startup Accelerator, I've been approached by Ergo, one of the leading insurance companies in Baltics, and they said like, yeah, we want to tackle innovation. We want to work with innovation. We want to be an innovative company. What should we do? How do we proceed? And at that point, I decided, okay, let's try like a classical accelerator, right? So the public accelerator, anyone can apply, and we launched Ergo FinTech Academy in 2015. It was like anyone with a fintech idea, not only fintech ideas can apply. Then we had like those pitching events, like then acceleration programs with mentors, workshops, lectures, you name it. And it was like a success for Ergo. But when we sat with the board, they just mentioned one thing. It was fun, it was cool, it was like mind-opening, but nothing happened. So no tangible results. It was a marketing activity, but it was a great marketing activity, but it's not our audience we want to like focus our marketing on. And at that particular point, I realized, that's exactly the problem, because they are, as a company, not ready to engage with those startups that were like selected throughout the program, because they do not have this like mindset and culture. And in 2016, we decided that we make another program. We call it Ergo Innovation Bootcamp. It was internal innovation program that was focused on employees. We delivered a lot of content, a lot of workshops to actually that allowed identifying of bottlenecks, opportunities, and problems within the program, within the company, and actually acting on them. Employees identified over 90 different problems and opportunities. 150 employees were involved in this like action and etc. Lectures, workshops. Then we accelerated 6 teams throughout like a couple of months to actually help them build a roadmap, a pitch deck that they can present to management. And like 3 projects were implemented. And that's exactly what I call a success, because right now they're building a innovation team inside the organization, because they know what's the mindset, what the right mindset, and what's the innovation culture. So this is it. So innovate or die. Thank you.
Right, I'll try to pick up on the spot where John ended. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna get up new slide deck in a second. By the way, after I talk, we will have a super amazing speech by David. David from Accelerator Investment Fund in Denmark. He's had a couple of his own startups, some more successful, some less successful, and he's an absolutely amazing guy who knows how to pull together what happens in technology world, what are the social trends, and how to link that up with different industries. He's helped a lot for us and me personally as well, sort of to think broader and to think where we should pay our attention to. So here are 3 things I want to leave you with today. 3 things that your company should do today if you haven't done them already. Number 1 is ask yourselves at the top management level, are you ready to embrace change and uncertainty? What do I mean by that? We do not know how the future will look like. Okay, there's a lot of uncertainty. We do feel threatened, right? The new companies going in, eating our core business, and we don't see this clear end game. And that's the very frustrating part of it. You know, a few decades ago, you could see a new technology coming in, and you could say, that's going to be the next thing for next decades. That's going to be a big cash cow. It doesn't work that anymore. So we asked ourselves, whom will become in 10 years' time? And the honest answer is that we saw that there's no one single product, one new technology, or one business line that will make us a successful company. So what we understood was that we need to place smaller bets in a range of technologies, in a range of businesses, and then see which one flies best. Because we don't know what's going to happen in a decade, but we definitely know that the world is going to be a completely different place. So we ask ourselves, can we transform from a service-oriented company to a design-oriented company? Now, why is that? How many of you have a broadband cable at your home? Few? Okay. If you have any questions around the service, so what do? How do you reach out to the broadband provider? Anyone? You call. You call up the number. You have a pretty pleasant voice on the other side, and they're gonna fix your problem. Now, how many of you watch TV or content using some sort of app? Is it Netflix, Shortcut, etc.? Quite a lot, right? So what happens is that when people move to digital products, they don't call physical support lines. They either understand how the product is supposed to be used and start using it, or they leave, and we lose them as customers. So having a nice service was great, but it's not going to help much in a world where products are digital and people just don't reach out to customer service. So now it's about design, the quality of design and the user experience, not about the service. Another decision you need to make is, Are you ready to truly empower your team? And this is a very important question. I've seen a lot of corporates saying that, so yeah, we had this innovation day. A lot of employees came in and pitched their ideas, and then we had the jury to evaluate their business potential, and then we voted, these are the good ideas and these are the bad ideas. Over the last 6-7 years, I've been working quite a lot with startups, and I've probably seen somewhere in between and worked with about 500 to 1,000 teams. That's quite a lot of data. And I cannot say that I've found a recipe how to identify which idea is going to be good or bad on day one when you first hear it. So the only way how to go about it is actually test your idea with real customers and give the employees the opportunity to be owners of their ideas. So what we did 2 years ago, created a program called Innovation Champions Program, which essentially said every single employee, whether you're a phone line operator, a field engineer, or a manager, can come up and pitch your idea. Any idea. It can be about transforming existing business, it can be about new business, and it can be about transforming processes, which is a big thing for big companies. And you'll not be judged. The only way how you'll get judged is that in order to get in the program, you need to convince at least one more colleague of yours to join your team, and that's it. And then you have 11 weeks and 20% of your time, full working time, 1 day a week, to work on your idea, to go out, test with the customers, if the problem that you're trying to solve is actually a real one, and then to prototype potential solutions. All without intervention of a smarter or smart-ish business guys who said, oh, that's a good idea or that's a bad idea. So in 2 years, we've had around 80 ideas pitched. Around 44 got at least one supporter, so they enrolled in the program. And 12 of them have been fully or partially implemented. And by the way, most of them actually were about transforming internal processes. And that's a huge domain of innovation, because we do have a lot of processes that are slowing us down. But there are also some product transformations and new business ideas. Here are 2 examples. So meet Annette. Annette is the first Latvian language service chatbot. The idea about Annette was pitched by Ines. Ines works in a call center. Her job used to be to train call center operators to be those pleasant people to reply on your calls. 6 months later, she has a new job. She's a robot coach. Her day job is to supervise how Annette is learning. And in the first 3 days, when we launched Annette as a publicly available tool, by the way, she was by far not the ready-made product, but she did get about 12,000 questions from a customer. That's around 10% of what we get in a month, and that's a huge amount of data. And that was the only way how we can train actually the robot to reply to real questions, to expose her to real customers as soon as possible. The other example, we entered the electricity market. And actually, this idea that we should get into this market came up with the first program. And the first insight for the team was that the original idea how we thought we were going to enter the market, it didn't fly. Original idea was to just combine the invoices. We thought that, just people like one invoice, so that's the reason why you should buy electricity from us. And we went out, talked to a lot of customers, and we understood that it's not really a great value proposition. So instead, we turned customers from flat pricing to market pricing. 2 reasons to do that. That actually enables and gives you a real incentive to save energy, because if you save something, you can actually see a difference in your energy bill. Before we entered the market, there were a couple % of the whole population who chose market pricing. At the moment, about 87% of our customers have chosen market pricing. So we actually changed the market dramatically. Third piece that you should think about is how to combine risk-taking and accountability. Because in big companies, you have your shareholders. You might be a listed company. And you have to explain, hey, if you're going to take this leap, how you're going to ensure that you're not going to burn all of the profits and you'll actually end up with some tangible results. And that's a very valid question to ask. So what we did was we thought, well, let's look at ourselves as investors and look how professional investors look to their portfolio. And they have different stages, and every stage has a certain amount of money and resources and time that they're putting in. So we said, well, we're probably not better than the best investors out there, so how about we just take this approach and embed into our operations. So instead of trying to judge every idea with a huge Excel sheet and business case, which, by the way, how many of you have seen a business case that hasn't changed on the way? Can I see one hand? Haven't seen any hands. We said, okay, we know that there are different stages for different ideas. So when you have the initial idea, it's super early, it's super risky, but it might sound very interesting. So how about we put a little amount of resources and just test if there is some customer traction for it. And we're going to need a lot of those ideas tested in order to arrive to a couple of ideas that actually fly. So we started to manage expectations and resources. So if I have an early idea, it's just an idea, I can get a little amount of resources, and I have limited time to show that there's actually some business potential, that customers say that it's a problem worth solving. If I have that, then I can get a little bit more resources, and I can build something that resembles a product, like a quick prototype, something that is discussed earlier, what our rapid prototyping team is doing quick iterations, little investments, just the core features to show to the customers. And we take those prototypes, we go to the customers, and if they see that that's something that fits their need, then we can put in a little bit more money, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a staged process. And that's how you can go back to your shareholders and say, we're going to face the future, and we have allocated some investment for that. But we're not going to drain down our bank accounts fully, right? We're just going to do some managed risks, enough of them so that we can count that 1 out of 10 will fly. So those were the 3 things I wanted to leave you today. Any questions?